They say being social means loving crowds, that if you prefer small groups, you're shy, awkward, or somehow missing out. But have you ever noticed something strange? In loud rooms full of people, you feel drained, disconnected, almost like you're observing instead of participating. Yet in a quiet conversation with just one or two people, something shifts. You come alive. You think clearer. You connect deeper. So what if that's not a weakness? What if your preference for small groups isn't social limitation, but psychological precision? Because psychology reveals something completely different. Most people misunderstand this completely. They assume preferring small groups means you lack social skills. But cognitive science suggests the opposite. This is often linked to something called high sensitivity processing, a trait studied under sensory processing sensitivity by psychologist Elaine Aron. It means your brain processes social information more deeply than average. You don't just hear words. You analyze tone, intention, emotional undercurrents, microexpressions, all at once. Now here's the problem. Crowds overload this system. Too many voices, too many signals, too much data. So your brain does something intelligent. It avoids environments where depth becomes impossible. This is also connected to social energy economics, a concept in psychology suggesting that people allocate mental energy where it produces the most meaningful return. And for you, surface-level interaction simply isn't worth the cost. So instead of asking, "Why don't you like crowds?" the real question becomes, why do you prioritize depth over noise? Let me break down exactly why this happens. Number. You prioritize. The depth over volume. Your brain is wired to go deep, not wide. Psychologically, this is linked to deep processing mode, where information isn't skimmed. It's explored, connected, and analyzed. While others are comfortable jumping between dozens of shallow interactions, you naturally slow things down. You ask better questions. You listen more carefully. You notice inconsistencies others miss. When people see you staying quiet in groups, they assume disengagement. But in reality, you're waiting for something meaningful enough to engage with. This is actually a sign of high cognitive selectivity. You invest attention where it truly matters, and that's rare. But there's more. Number. You experience social overstimulation. Faster, your nervous system processes more input per second than most people. This is tied to low stimulus threshold, meaning your brain reaches overload faster, not because it's weaker, but because it's processing more detail. In crowded environments, you're not just hearing conversations. You're subconsciously tracking emotional tones, body language shifts, and environmental noise all at once. While others are enjoying the moment, your brain is running a high-resolution scan of everything happening. It's exhausting. So when you step away or stay quiet, it's not avoidance. It's regulation. This is what psychologists call self-regulatory intelligence, the ability to recognize when your system needs recovery. Most people ignore that signal. You don't, and that's a strength. But here's what's even more interesting. Number 3. You build stronger, more meaningful connections. You're not interested in knowing many people. You're interested in understanding a few. This aligns with attachment depth theory, which suggests some individuals are naturally wired for fewer but more emotionally significant relationships. While others are networking, you're bonding. While others are exchanging names, you're exchanging perspectives. And when someone talks to you one-on-one, they feel seen, because you're not half listening while thinking about your next sentence. You're fully present. This creates something rare in today's world: psychological safety. People trust you faster, open up quicker, remember you longer, and ironically, the thing people label as reserved is exactly what makes you unforgettable. But there's another layer to this. Number 4. You observe before you engage. You don't jump into social situations blindly. You study them. This is known as social scanning behavior, a cognitive pattern where individuals assess dynamics before participating. While others walk into a room and start talking, you're noticing who dominates conversations, who listens, who's genuine, and who's performing. Some might call this hesitation, but it's actually strategic awareness. You're filtering for authenticity. You're deciding where your energy is worth investing. And once you do engage, it's intentional. This is why your interactions often feel more grounded, more real, because you don't participate automatically. You participate selectively, and that selectivity is power. But there's something deeper driving all of this. Number 5. You're naturally resistant to social pressure crowds influence people. That's basic psychology, known as conformity effect, Ash experiments. But here's where you're different. Because you're less engaged in group dynamics, you're less influenced by them. You don't feel the same pressure to agree, laugh, or perform. While others adapt to fit the environment, you maintain internal alignment. That's called internal, locus of control. You're guided more by your own values than external expectations. This is why. You don't fake enthusiasm. You don't force conversations. You don't chase approval. And while that can make you feel like an outsider sometimes, it also makes you incredibly grounded. You're not easily manipulated, not easily swayed. And in a world driven by social validation, that's a rare form of independence, but there's one final piece most people never realize. Number 6. You protect your mental energy. Like a resource to you, attention isn't infinite, it's valuable. This aligns with cognitive resource theory, which suggests that mental energy is limited, and how you spend it determines your effectiveness. So you naturally avoid environments where energy is wasted, small talk that goes nowhere, noise without meaning, interactions without depth. Instead, you invest in meaningful conversations, thoughtful reflection, genuine connection. And because of that, your mental clarity stays sharper, your emotional stability stays stronger, and your relationships stay deeper. You're not less social, you're more intentional, and that changes everything. So what does all of this mean? It means your preference for small groups isn't a limitation. It's a highly specialized psychological adaptation. You're not avoiding people. You're filtering for meaning. You're not socially weak. You're socially precise. While others spread themselves thin across dozens of interactions, you go deep where it actually matters. And yes, this can feel isolating sometimes, because the world often rewards visibility over depth, noise over substance, quantity over quality. But here's the truth. You're operating on a different level of awareness. Research on introverted information. Processing shows that individuals like you engage more heavily in internal reflection, pattern recognition, and emotional analysis. That's why you notice what others miss. That's why shallow environments feel draining. That's why meaningful conversations feel energizing. Your mind isn't built for chaos, it's built for clarity. So instead of trying to fix this part of yourself, understand it. Because your depth, your selectivity, your calm observation, that's not something to overcome, that's something to leverage. So let me ask you something. Have people ever misunderstood you because of this? Have they assumed you're quiet, distant, or uninterested, when in reality you're just processing everything more deeply? If this resonates with you, drop it in the comments. Let's find the people who think differently, and if you've ever felt out of place in loud environments, but completely yourself in meaningful conversations, comment, depth over noise, because you're not alone in this. And if you want to understand the psychology behind your personality, why you think the way you do, feel the way you feel, and see what others don't, make sure you subscribe. Because in the next video, we're diving into another powerful trait: why people who enjoy being alone often have the strongest minds. Until then, remember, you're not broken. You're not missing something, you're just wired differently, and that difference is your advantage.